Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless, a sea of the aimless. I don't wanna be one of the nameless. I'ma wake up with the mindset that one day I'm gonna make it. And I don't think I'll be fine if I don't break my limitations. Don't try to stop me, I exist to write my own story. I'll make a decision if I want some peace or if I want the glory, yeah. Don't want a life that is complacent or possibly boring. I just want a life that is worth every day exploring.
My whole life I just wanted someone who would notice me. My whole life I just wanted to be somebody to be. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, 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 I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, 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 yeah.
It is time to qualify for SIM500's version of the Great American Race, the Daytona 500K. It is race number 1 as we kick off the 2023 season of this North Carolina 811.com Cup Series season from the Great Daytona International Speedway virtually here on iRacing. I am the captain, Chris Scala, alongside, of course, Kevin Sigmund, who joins us. Welcome back.
Hey, good to be here, Chris.
Absolutely. Nice called you Kevin Sigmund. Kevin England. Wrong six-letter last name. Sigmund, England.
Sigmund's the other driver.
Yeah, Sigmund's the other guy. Doug. What a good start to the season. So, Kevin, we got qualifying going on right now. Of course, we're on track, and cars are going on right now, and they are getting 2 laps of qualifying in on track right now as we look at Glenn Campbell up here on the screen. And basically, we're about to see the grid here as everybody comes across to get their 2 laps in. One thing that we've been hearing a lot about is running the right lane to get around this track. This qualifying is not an easy one.
Yeah, Chris, there's so much science to this, and a lot of these drivers run hundreds, no joke, laps trying to figure out how to tune their qualifying setup for these type of racetracks. And there's some of them that just have it, and others just go out on a wing and a prayer. And well, we'll see how this all stacks up. There's one guy to always keep an eye on when it comes to qualifying. He probably has the most poles of anybody in SIM500. That's Tyler Dalton.
And what's funny is Tyler actually told me before practice, or during practice, I should say, he didn't feel like he had a car for the pole. We're about to see here as he comes across the start-finish line right now. I'm looking over to the top of the board. He goes tied for the pole with a 50.03. But basically, we're setting the field right now of only 2. That sounds weird, but think of NASCAR's rules. That's basically what we're doing here. Top 2 are going to lock into this Daytona 500, and then afterwards, we're going to run a dual race, or one race. A dual is actually 2 races, but we're going to run one qualifying race to set the field here.
Yeah, so Chris, as these guys roll through, it's all important to get that front row and lock yourself into a front row starting spot for the race next weekend. These drivers understand that, and they did put a lot of time into qualifying. And right now we have a bit of a conundrum as John Hickman Jr. right now leads the provisional pole, but there's a tie for second.
Yeah, we're literally getting down into the thousands. That's where we're tied right now. But look at Gonzalez. He actually just crossed the line at a 50.04. Here comes Jose Medina across the line. And these times are on top of another.
Yeah, really, as good as all these times are, where they're so close to the leader, it's only the top 2 that count in this session. Then they're going to have to race their way through to a top start later tonight.
Yeah, the problem is they only had 5 minutes to get that qualifying lap in, so a lot of people just got cut off. And because of that, John Hickman Jr. has just won the pole for this SIM500 North Carolina 811.org Daytona 500K, and because of that, he is going to win the 811 Pole Award. So we're going to talk to him here before the start of this race, which is coming up here at about 30 seconds in the warm-up. But let's show you really quickly the race information for tonight. As you just witnessed the 2 laps of qualifying, top 2 cars will lock in. Then coming up here in just a moment, we'll have a 60-lap race with 75% fuel. So there will be one guaranteed pit stop in this race. And you see how the field will be set, basically. Odd finishing positions will start in the odd spots for the 500. Even finishers in the even spots. Now, if the pole sitter wins the race, then obviously the third place finisher in this race will be the person who starts third. If the pole sitter does not win that race, then obviously whoever wins the race will start third, and then the same for second. If the outside pole sitter finishes second, then obviously the fourth place finisher starts fourth. If the fourth place, or if the...
I'm going to get my abacus out.
Yeah, figure this one out. If the outside pole sitter finishes outside of second, then whoever finishes second gets the outside pole. That's kind of how it works. And you see the race next Monday night at 8:30 p.m. So let's jump down here to the grid now as we get lined up for the 60-lap affair and take a look at the starting lineup for this race. And as you see, the pole sitter for the race is John Higman Jr. He will be on the front row for this race. And congratulations to him and Tyler Dalton. They've locked themselves onto the front row of this race. Jimmy Coleman, Glenn Campbell will be in row number 2. Chad Coleman, Jose Gonzalez, Josh Parker, David Comstock, Joe Hudson, Jeff Ryan. They will be your top 10. As I'll let you take the second 10 here, bud.
Yep. Pedro Mojica in the 58. He's going to start 11th to his outside. It'll be Kevin DeBrown in the number 93. Nelson Rivera inside the next row. 13th starting spot for Nelson. Robert Friery, the third, starts in 14th. Row number 8 is going to be 15th starting spot for the 40 of Charles Woods. And the other Woods, Doy, that is, the 28, runs in the 16th starting spot. Donnie Leah in the number 29 is going to start 17th here tonight. On his outside, Mike Montesi starts in the 18th position, 10th row, 19th starting spot for the 2 of Mike Kelly. And on his outside, the 24, it's Jose Medina starting 20th tonight.
21st, Casey Duncan, the 4X Racing number 71 car will start there. Alongside him will be John Fowler. Eric Arnold, Scott Stenzel, they'll take row number 12. Row number 13, that is where you'll see Brian Macklin and Bentley Glazier. Stoney Benfield, Wesley Donaldson. In row 14, Kevin Stone, Doug Sigmund, not to get confused with Kevin, his non-related twin brother, will start there in the 30th position.
31st is Mike Chaya in the 10 of Richard Beasley. Super Speedway ace starts 32nd here tonight. 33rd for Scott Simley in the 12 to his outside. Ron Hollifield in the number 11. He starts 34th. 35th starting spot for Doug Roth in the 43. And Randy Yoakum in the 36 will start outside row 18. 37th starting spot for Charles Van Schaik. In the 23, it's the 99 of Tommy Ryan. Watch him tonight too. He starts back in 38th. 39th starting spot for Justin Mons in the 49. New Jersey's own Anthony Calantoni starts the number 84 out of the 40th position. Brian Workman in the 74, flagging some NC811 colors. He starts 41st, and it's Jerry Livingston in the 96, 42nd starting spot tonight.
There you go. And that is your starting lineup as they come to the green flag. And the qualifying race is green from Daytona as Dalton and Higman take the front row.
Well, side by side as they come up through the gears, head into the banking for the first time over in turn 1. Everybody kind of getting their pace, looking at the car in front of them, trying to figure out which lane am I going to go with. And one of the things we know, Chris, is these drivers do have some friends in here. There's a lot of teammates, and they'll look to see in the early going if they can get hooked up with a friend and work their way to the front.
You say that as Glenn Campbell, who's one of the SIM500 Mafia guys, just kind of left Dalton hanging and drops to the bottom in front of the 54. It's a 60 of Higman, and Glenn Campbell, the Rhinestone Cowboy, if you will. He's going to lead lap 1 of this duel. Or race.
Yeah, Campbell's car looked a little bit nervous there, and he got a little wiggle. John Higman had to jump out of the throttle just a touch or drag the brake. Now he comes back to him on the back bumper. It's the 54 of Jimmy Coleman to the outside. They're side by side in the banking in turn 1. Still 2 by 2 by 2 all the way deep into the pack.
Got some 3 wide back here, mid-pack. Back here about Casey Duncan, Scott Stenzel. Those guys running 3 abreast, as they used to say back on ESPN days of with Benny Parsons. Those guys, we're abreast down the back. 3 wide, though, back here mid-pack. Looks like they're going to get all sorted out, but handling, I think, is going to be the word to use tonight. That is going to be something we're going to be keeping an eye on.
In this track, unlike Talladega, 3 lanes is a little bit dodgy. You feel a little uncomfortable when you're in the sucker hole through the middle, but you can make a lot of time to the outside, so we think drivers are going to take advantage of that, especially as the laps tick off. One driver taking advantage of that, Kevin DeBrown. He just walked around the outside and stepped around Jeff Ryan in the number 3 car. He's going to find himself currently about that 8th or 9th position.
Down the back straightaway, Dalton going to go back to the front top side there with help from Speedy Gonzalez there in that number 26 car. Dalton getting a little out of shape. These cars are very nervous, especially with the handling. These guys going to be fighting a little bit. The weather default. But track temp obviously going to be climbing here as they run in the daylight, just like the old school days used to be here at Daytona when they ran the duels during the daytime. At the time, it was known as the Gatorade 125s is what we knew them as. And you kind of had a code for it. It was like, hey, you going to watch the 125s? It was like, you knew it. Now they're the duels.
The duels, yeah. Back in the Earnhardt days, you wouldn't have missed them.
How many years?
Jimmy Coleman jumps out front. He moved over across in front of Glenn Campbell, his teammate. 2 Trans-Service cars running nose to tail. Hickman has the line marching on the outside. He's got that fast Dalton Ford right behind him, shoving him around. These guys probably will take their time. Chris, whoa, big wiggle by Hickman. He's going to have everybody set up.
Now
Let's see if they gather it up and come back together here in the tricky tri-oval.
Well, they all just scrambled like somebody farted in the classroom or something. But basically what happened there is that these cars are getting loose, and that's part of this car. They're going to get dancy, and they're going to get all types of wobbly and stuff. This is going to become a factor. These cars, when you're turning them, caution is out, trouble, and it looks like it's back at Eric Arnold and others here, turn 1 and 2. Looks like Eric Arnold has gone around here in his 31 in the Voodoo Racing car. The cars almost want to dart left as they come off the corner. It's something that they've been going through since about mid-season last season on these super speedways. So the whole drafting and thinking you're okay and just riding trick, that's really not a factor anymore. It's more of taking care of the car and getting the handling right on this thing, as the 31 is kind of sitting over there dormant in turn 2. Let's see if we can get a replay of what happened here. Everybody was, I see, everybody was scrambling. Arnold wouldn't get back on the track, and Randy Yoakum was there. And I don't think Randy Yoakum was happy about it.
Yeah, just 2 guys fighting for that lower lane. That started when Stoney Benfield gave a little tap to the back bumper of Arnold. He was down there on the apron trying to pick and choose his lane to get back to the racetrack. And unfortunately, when he came up, he encountered the 8. And he and Yoakum had a little connection there with the 31 going around and taking the worst for the wear.
Yeah, it's one of those, you know what, you're on the apron here, and I hate to say this to Eric, but it's your responsibility to get on the track. Yeah, Randy maybe could give more room, but Randy might have also been not aware that Eric was there. So there's a lot of little factors there, unfortunately, and just a chain reaction, shall we say, or something of the sort. But caution out for the first time allows us to kind of get our wits about us. I know we had a little bit of a late start this evening, but we're here. And, of course, if you missed qualifying there at the beginning, Tyler Dalton, John Hickman Jr., they are the front row officially for this Daytona 500-kilometer race coming up next Monday night here on the Captain Esports Network. And, of course, that means the pole award went to the guy who's actually leading this race right now, and that being John Hickman Jr. And it's going to give us an opportunity. Let's pull John up here and have a word with him, celebrate the pole here for this race. Let me make sure I got John to the right channel here. John, congratulations, man. I know we didn't get a chance to chat before the race, but, man, you got the pole for arguably the series' biggest race in that North Carolina 811 car.
Yeah, it's awesome. I was really surprised that I actually won the pole. I never practiced that fast, and I tried a couple of little things, and it seemed to work out.
What was more surprising, you winning the pole or the fact that you to like 30th were within like 1/100th of a second or so?
That's pretty surprising too. I think both of them are equally surprising.
I mean, I was kind of like, wow, everybody's on top of another lap time wise. Well, so how do we turn this into a win? Because obviously you have the track position now. We see already handling is going to play a huge role. How do you keep that 60 car under you?
That's a good question. These cars drive so different than anything else. I'll just try to stay out of trouble. I mean, I'm not the best at that, but I'll have to try some different things, I guess.
Well, obviously, it looks like you. Well, the good news is you get to be the pole sitter coming up, and you'll join the list of now six different pole winners in the six races that they've run here at this track. So, congratulations, man! And it's the 811 Pole Award to you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. As John Higman Jr. on the pole. I'm trying to think of a nickname. I want to use the Great American SIM500 race, maybe. I don't know the right way to go with that, but we'll let them. Well, how about the viewers? You guys come up with a nickname, because it's known as the Great American Race, but that's NASCAR's thing. Obviously, we're not NASCAR. We're SIM500, and yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. We have till next weekend to kind of get that sorted out.
So this is a good opportunity for those tonight. You're going to notice I'm stumbling a little bit. We're all stumbling and getting through. This is like the warm-up race for Kevin and I. It's the first time we've talked since the November race. Obviously, when Daniel Falkingham crossed the line in what was a redonkulous finish, as I like to call it. And, we're back here tonight, ready to rock and roll. Cup cars on track. And I'm excited. I'm ready. It's our first full season of Cup racing here on the Captain Esports Network. Of course, last season at this point, we were only covering the Grand National Series, and now we got them both here at home and got a good amount of viewers tonight. I see 17 watching tonight. It's an opportunity for us to share the new viewership that we have. Of course, as you know, last season we were pretty much YouTube, Twitter. We were everywhere. This season, we are on the SIM500 Facebook page. We are on the Captain Esports Network Facebook page, and of course on YouTube. So you get your chance to watch us wherever you like to watch us. And the good news is you can pretty much chat with me from any of those sources, and I'll be able to see you. As the green flag going to come back out, Higman, Dalton, Comstock, Gonzalez, and Jeff Ryan, almost called him Tommy, here at lap number 9.
Yeah, if you're watching the broadcast, feel free to share the broadcast link out on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you want to share it. Let your friends know you're watching sim racing here. The SIM500 stars are starting their season. They'll race all the way to November, and you can follow the storylines every week here on the Captain Esports Network.
Absolutely. As Dalton going to get to push in the outside lane from Speedy Gonzalez, as inside here comes that 54 of Jimmy Coleman with help of that Rusty Wallace looking number 77. That being Robert Prairie, III.
Yeah, right now this top pack is kind of packed up. They're nose to tail, side by side, all the way through to about 15th, and then behind them it gets a little lazy. They spread out. They left a little more room. I think after seeing the first crash of the season, several drivers are kind of tepid at this point, making sure they want to get to the finish of this, and really that is the goal with these style races, is save the car and try to be up somewhere near the top 10 at the end.
One car diving out of the line. I think that's Higman. He's wanting to preserve that 500 car. Get it to the back. Up to 21 viewers.
Well, I'll tell you, Chris, you see these cars wiggling around. These guys have a handful. It used to be that when you ride around here, the car would just kind of track with the car in front of you, and you really had to just mind your P's and Q's, try to find the lane. But these cars, they dance in the wind, and the more they update them, the more they move around, and you've got to be physically up on the wheels. We see a connection right through the middle. I saw the 24 of Jose Medina. He got sideways coming up off the corner, and he got into the side of Josh Parker, shoved him up the racetrack. So even in the middle of the pack, these guys, they've got their hands full, especially coming up off the corners.
Yes, they do. As NASCAR modified driver and former now Craftsman Truck Series winner Donnie Leah going to the front down here bottom side in the 29 and the 54 of Jimmy Coleman pushing on the inside lane.
Yes, so we can update some of the storylines coming into this season. We see a couple new names out on the racetrack for this go-around. All these drivers registered and locked in for next week's race. One name we don't see, Daniel Falkingham, and you and I were talking about this. He's going to join us on the broadcast next week as he's moved on to the NASCAR Esports Series and will be running for Joe Gibbs Racing. He leaves the door open, not going to repeat on the championship after leaving the series, as pro drivers are not allowed. So a lot of these drivers are looking for their championship run here in 2023.
Yeah, so you mentioned he's going to be racing for the Joe Gibbs Racing team. Going to be racing through the Joe Gibbs Racing team, and teammate going to be Bobby Zielinski. So I can actually kind of brag a little bit here. It'll be the first team that I could say I've actually announced races for both. Oh, trouble in the front straightaway here. Big wreck towards the back as the 15 is sideways. I saw some cars kind of dancing, that 15 out of shape back there. That's Joe Hudson. I see the 81 of Josh Parker also involved.
Yeah, that was an errant bump started there. Bentley Glazer in the number 18 coming down the straightaway. Kind of had to check up a little bit for John Fowler. Got tagged in the back by Macklin. The 81 took evasive action, and it was on from there.
Macklin, the back-to-back winner of this race series, won the last 2 seasons, and going to try to three-peat this thing. Oh, yeah, right there. There's the chain reaction. Casey Duncan, you can add him to the list of cars involved. And actually, everybody mostly got it straightened out.
Yeah, in the sim racing world, there's an option here in iRacing for a car reset. They do not use that here in SIM500, so if the car is damaged, it's damaged for good. They're going to have to go into pits, let the crew fix the car to the best of their ability. Sometimes they can get the car back to race worthiness, and other times you're just going to ride around here. So we'll see what this means to a couple drivers. I know that 81, as you're about to see, took a pretty good lick there for Josh Parker, and a couple of them went through the grass. That shouldn't hurt too much, Chris, but yeah, a couple cars took some good shots in that run.
And unfortunately, that brings the caution out here for the second time.
Working lap 14 of 60, 2 cautions so far for 4 laps, and this race is going to go by quickly. So these drivers, unlike the race next weekend, 500K, they're going to be on kill here. They really have to hustle, find the lanes, take the risks, because this race is going to go by in a flash.
Now, going back to what we were talking about with Daniel Falkingham, who's going to join us next week in the booth. Now, one of the cool things I can brag about is a good portion of the drivers that are in that Coca-Cola iRacing series that you're going to see, of course, on the iRacing channels and stuff like that, is a decent amount of them drivers I've either had the honor of racing with or calling their races. And this is the first team I can say that I have been able to call their races. And what I say by that is Daniel's going to be teaming up with Bobby Zielinski. And Bobby actually raced in a league called Sim Racing Authority, still around, I believe. And Bobby Cheney runs that league, and he raced there. And I actually broadcasted that league when it first started out for a while. And a lot of the drivers, Femi Olot, let's see who else, Marcus Richardson, I know, has ran in the Coke Series for a little bit. Logan Clampett. Oh gosh, who else is over there from that series? I mentioned Femi. Just a couple that come off the top of my head. Zielinski is actually the teammate to Daniel on the Joe Gibbs Racing team. So I'm interested next Monday to talk to him about their relationship and be able to kind of say, hey, yeah, from knowing Bobby and how good of a guy he is, how that working with Daniel is. So I have to say, you know, I'm going to be unbiased, but there's a part of me that's like, hey, I'm going to cheer that team on.
I'm excited for Daniel. He's like a sponge. He's going to soak up a lot of that veteran knowledge that Zielinski has to offer. And, you know, he learned a lot here in our series. There's a bunch of Coke drivers that ran here. And, you know, you have Ironmen like Chad Coleman, who is an outstanding driver, incredible number of wins, multi-time champion. And there's no slouches here in Sim500. So competition is tough all throughout the season for these guys here. And they'll miss Daniel, but they'll move on and try and get themselves a championship here, the NC811 championship, one of the most coveted ones in sim racing.
So caution out for the second time, and we've had 2 cars stay out. You saw a majority of the field come to pit road there. I think they're going to try to work the fuel strategy here potentially to go the rest of the way. It's going to be very tough from this point, but you never know. Robert Ferry III and Nelson Riviera is stayed out. Those 2 are going to be the leaders, and then the rest of the field all came to pit road. It was Doy Woods who actually pitted in the first caution. He will be 3rd in that number 28 Haviland car, and then his teammate in the, shall we call, negative Haviland car will restart there in 4th, and that being Donnie Leah, who I just mentioned. As I'm getting that.
And you know, when you look at the way these drivers stack up, they have to really play a dual role, a lot of them. They're both the driver and the crew chief as they sit behind the wheel in the sim rigs. They're looking at strategy. If they go and take fuel, the next time they pit, there will be less time on pit road, or they can go further into the race and therefore have to take less fuel to get to the finish. But the trade-off is track position. For anybody that stayed out, you're going to be behind that mess. And it's always fun to watch how these guys decide what they're going to do. And this year, a couple newcomers in here, looking at Kevin Stone, for example, in the 17 running 24th. We have drivers who we have not seen, so it'll be fun to see he and Wesley Donaldson, who's running to his inside in that number 91 WBD diecast Camaro. How are they going to play this race? We see some strategies pretty common for some of our drivers. All the new ones add a different wrinkle to the story.
And of course, as you know, most people know, I should say, and if you haven't heard the news, SIM500 did merge with GOAT, which was another league, and they are now basically a 7-night league with GOAT being involved also. A lot of those drivers have come over to join this series as the green flag comes back out with Frary on the inside there of the 22 of Rivera. Now, Rivera last season was going to be a playoff driver. What kept him from being in the playoffs? The rules, basically. He did not make enough starts in the series to be a playoff driver. So Rivera just kind of did his best and did what he could do, and unfortunately finished where he did. But that LaRue number 22 is up front, getting a nice push from Donnie Leah, who I mentioned, a modified driver from the Northeast, who his claim to fame, if you go look up the Mansfield truck race from 2007, I think it is, you will notice a 3-wide finish at the line. That was won by that guy right there. He's there in that inverted Haviland number 29 car. Outside lane pushing to 22, but up front now the 77 getting pushed by the 28 of Doy Woods as Gonzalez slides up the track here. So as you're seeing the handling again coming into play.
Yeah, Donnie had been out of the seat for quite a while. I guess he just kind of self-imposed retirement, but came back last year and ran Old Blue number 3. Well-known, well-respected modified team, and gave that car a lot of really good runs, and I'm looking forward to see if he's going to run a little more this year. I was watching Mike Montesi hook to the back bumper, currently in that 7th position of the 19, Tyler Dalton. Those two are teammates. They're looking at that 77 in front of them, who is not one of their teammates, and I'm wondering, are they willing to ride there, or are they going to make the move to see if they can get back out front? I know Tyler Dalton, he wants to lead the race.
As Casey Donkey comes to pit road, you mentioned the 3. If you haven't had a chance yet, if you have Flow Racing, go watch the modified race from Saturday night at New Smyrna Beach. That was a fantastic race. That 3 car you talked about, I don't know who's driving that car now, but I'm not going to criticize him on the air, but oh, here we go. We're going to have a big wreck.
That's going to be bad.
Oh, no. Hard into the wall goes Montesi.
5's around, the 3's around, the 40's involved, and oh, this is going to take out half the field here.
Jeff Ryan involved, the 2 of Mike Kelly.
93 takes evasive action down through the grass, just hooked it left and tried to steer around it all.
Stony Benfield may be involved. I see some damage. Actually, I see Stenzel's car looking
fairly Ron Hallfield sitting in there.
That was, I don't want to use, man, avoidable? I know Yeah, we're getting
Yeah,
aggressive and
it's
stuff
just
here.
one of those things where you just don't know, right? One driver zigs, the other zags. They're looking for different space, and I don't know. Mike in the number 5, Chaya, CZAJA, I believe it's pronounced Chaya, got 3 wide in the middle, and Mike Montesi doesn't look like he knew he was there. He drifted up. Chaya went up high to try and make sure he didn't make connection. Hooked the 30 or the 28 of Doy Woods, and it was on from there. And really, that happened out in the back of the top 2. Only the 77 and the 19 were able to drive away cleanly.
I thought this was going to be a lot worse when it started, but you see the Tim Hortons number 5 car just get into the 28 there. I don't think Doy's going to be getting any Timbits anytime soon, as he makes contact with the 6, and then unfortunately they're trying to save the car, and then there's net code from the 28 into the 6, hard into the wall. The 22 6 comes 4 wheels off ground. There's Jeff Ryan getting into it, and unfortunately Donnie Leah, and a whole bunch of carnage here. Yeah, I was just talking.
And looking out back, there were several cars that really did a good job at getting on the binders. They got down, and you know, Chrissy, you get in that mix where you're tight against somebody, but you're all sliding at the same speed, and you beat and you bang and you bounce, but you really don't hit anything, if that makes any sense.
Right.
And I think a lot of these guys will be okay out from the middle of the pack back.
Yeah, hopefully they'll get their damage fixed. Now, with these cars, you can, I mean, they are very, they're built to last, so to say. So as long as you didn't get any engine damage or anything like that, you should be okay as we look at the replay. See who else gets in there. How about Charles Woods in the 40?
Yes.
Oh, there's our onboard camera right there, boys.
I was riding with Charles Woods. He did a spectacular job driving through that.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Let's, the postman, as I like to call him here. I don't know if he works for the post office. That was his sponsor, though. I think he's got a different sponsor now, so I might have to call him something different. Where is Charles? Charles in the Crown Royal number 40. He might take a shot for that. Watch this, boys. Wow.
I was riding with him, and I knew he did a great job driving through. He was about the only person who emerged unscathed, untouched.
I mean, every time it looked like he was going to hit somebody, he just got on the brakes and the car stopped.
You know, the bad news is watching through that a couple times on our monitors, you could see someone in the middle checked up, somebody got into him, turned that car sideways. Somebody in the back checked up, somebody got into the back of him, turned that car sideways. So what could have been something where everybody drove through, unfortunately, you just had cars sideways all the way through the corner, and yeah, there's a lot of beating and banging going down there on pit road, but we got a race to run, and well, for the 77 and the 19, it's business as usual. They're out front, and they're looking out the rear mirror of everybody who's beaten and banged, smiling.
Let's, before we get this green flag, let's step away and hear from a word from our sponsor of 811.
Your property, contact 811 before you begin your cleanup. Buried utilities around uprooted trees can make a bad situation worse if those lines are not located before digging. Electric, natural gas, and internet lines are everywhere, and knowing where they are is the safest way to start any digging project. Call North Carolina 811 by dialing 811 or by using single address ticket on nc811.org or the NC811 app.
And back we are here from Daytona as we're coming through 3 and 4. Pace car has been a little busy here tonight. Third caution here, lap 22 of this qualifying race to set the rest of the field for the 6th running of the Daytona 500K. You'll see here on the Captain Esports Network next Monday night here at 8:15 Eastern Time. But the Captain joining you, of course, with Kevin England, who will be with me throughout the season. Good to see and be with him as he's had a nice off season and some things done, but good to see him back here healthy and good for you to join me, man. Looking forward to what's going to be a fun season as the green comes back out.
You had a little surgery on my eye in the off season, and finally got back to doing some sim racing, raced with the Goat League and SIM500 the other night at New Hampshire. Excited to get behind the wheel again and excited to see these guys screaming down the backstretch here at Daytona. It just means that Daytona is around the corner, and I'm so excited to get the racing season, the real one and the sim racing one, underway again.
Been a lobster. So Kevin Brown leading this race. Pedro Mojica up here in the front net. Gold number 58. Mojica, the Xfinity Series champion from last season. Pushed to the front by, look at that. How about Richard Beasley? That's the last two times a Super Speedway Series has been run in SIM500 during the wintertime. That's your last two champions right there. Richard Beasley and Pedro Mojica, a little tandem style going. But now Josh Parker, who, oh, by the way, was the first caution tonight.
Yep.
In that United Rentals number 81, pushing the 29 house. Now all of a sudden we've gone from handling to 2011.
How amazing is that? You know, Richard Beasley, you could ask the Magic 8-Ball, is Richard Beasley going to win? It's supposed to give you a benign answer, but it answers yes every time. The guy is such a super speedway ace. He is incredible at this type of racing.
It's a great time to experiment. I mean, you're risking a qualifying spot as Tommy got in the back of Richard. And while that happens, the 81 of Parker jumps out. I know wrecking.
And they're crashing out back, yeah.
84 of Calentoni, Justin Mons. Trying to see who else. I saw somebody sliding towards the infield. But these guys are fighting for their lives in this car.
Yeah, I'll tell you, they're running in close quarters, and they understand that this race, it's important for next week, but they want to win. And you got to run like a Conci, or you got to run like a Saturday night feature. They're elbows up all the way through the field, and they're also getting those cobwebs shaken off, I think, getting used to each other again, and a little contact through the middle there. I think that might have started with contact from Justin Mons and the 48 of John Fowler.
I see Chad Coleman getting involved also here. Let's, you mentioned the 49 of Mons. Let's go up.
See a lot of accordion style checkups here, or cars running up on each other. I wonder, you know, they made some updates to this on the off season, Chris, and the runs that you get in the draft really pull the car forward. You get to the back bumper of the car in front of you, and you have to break that bubble, but sometimes you just come all the way up and hammer that back bumper of the car in front of you. And when you make that contact, it'll turn the car sideways in the middle of the straightaway.
You know what I'm seeing is everybody checks up, and it looks like it sends, I think that's the 41 that got sent sideways with the 49.
Tap out tuning got tapped.
But you know what? I don't see, it looked like the 41.
And it seems so odd to see all the cars get collected, but maybe we could take an in-car shot and show what the drivers see looking out the windshield. You're really looking at the spoiler in the top of the car in front of you. You can't see through it. You have to kind of trust your instinct. Every once in a while, you see a driver move left or move right in the line, just so that they can get a sense of where the car is in front of them and through the pack as to how things stack up, especially when it's really tight in there. But trust me, you can't see much in these cars looking through the steel of the car in front of you.
You have to forgive me, as I'm still, like I said, you're in some new paints and stuff. We're still learning cars and that kind of thing here. So I'm trying to spot that other car. But I want to go on board real quickly because I want to explain a little stuff there. That's one thing I've been trying to do on the streams this season, now that we're getting going again, is I want to be able to explain the wreck, since I've been in the car a lot more. It was the 48, by the way, was that car. I thought that was the 41. So what is going on here? Okay, so basically, if you look up 3 cars ahead, Tommy Ryan is going to get that run up on the back of who is that up there ahead of him? The Tide car of Richard Beasley. It's going to cause a checkup here. Now, when the 48 and 49 check up right here, you're going to notice the car is coming off the banking here. So it's getting lighter at this moment. So what you're going to see is the 48 is going to run into the back of the 49. And these cars are already getting pretty light. You see the 48 gets in the back of the 40 car. So with that going on, it causes these cars to get lighter and it sends them to the left. And look at the 43 just getting missed there. So basically just a chain reaction where the third and fourth car in line, the fifth car in line, they're already light on their feet, as Clint Boyer likes to call it. And now they get contact, they get turned. And that's what brings that caution out. So all this is coming down to handling and aggressiveness and that kind of thing. And unfortunately, a lot of cars have been involved in accidents. We had more pit stops here. A lot of cars getting damage fixed. And a lot of cars getting tires and fuel here as we're under our fourth caution in this race so far. Mike Chaya, as you said, Randy Yoakum, Casey Duncan, Mike Montesi, Brian Macklin, and Eric Arnold all behind the wall for Macklin. His three-peat going to be starting all the way back in 41st in his try, so we'll have to see if he can pull it off from the back in what appears to be a very tough race to win from the back and stuff. You're going to need to get track position here with the way these cars are handling right now.
Yeah, the best description I've heard, Chris, is the car is a bit like a kite in the wind. As you go down the straightaway, it goes left, you got to correct, goes right, you got to correct. The other thing that I've noticed in this car, the car in front of you, when it moves to the left, changes the air.
Yeah.
The air coming off the right side of the car in front of you will make your car kind of turn left. Sometimes when the cars in front of you, say, switch lanes and drive down to the left, your car pulls to the left. You could be turning to the right, and it doesn't literally turn. There's a lot of aerodynamic going on in there. These drivers in the sim, they feel it just like the real cars.
And we're going to try it again as we come to the green, 2 laps from the halfway point. Have these guys settled down or whatnot? I mean, maybe a little blip off the throttle through the corners might help a little bit, but either way, as one car jumps in line there, right before the green flag comes out, and we're back underway with Robin Freary leading Donnie Leah there outside, and there's the pusher of the league, Kevin DeBrown. If you ever need pushed out of a mud puddle, call Kevin. If you ever need pushed to the pits with a run out of, with being out of fuel, as Leah makes contact with Mojica.
Yeah, Mojica picked up the trade service sponsorship for this year, running down there in that third position. He and Leah did a body hip check there coming off the corner. No harm, no foul. I see Tyler Dalton's eyes were big as saucers there behind him, but everybody slams on that throttle, doesn't lift, and they keep driving as they come off the corner.
Yeah, you can see already some of the cars there. I don't want to say getting tight through the corners, but what they're doing is I think they're being very careful with how they turn the car because of the looseness that's happening coming off the corners here. But 2 laps from, as we're coming to halfway point this time by, already 30 laps to go in this qualifying race. Again, the winner will move to the third starting position. Second place will start 4th in the race unless the actual pole sitter and second place starters, which in this case are the 60 of John Hickman and the 19 of Tyler Dalton.
We saw drivers come and go here in this first early stages. John Hickman, who started on the pole, he's back to 12th right now, running in that outside lane, 6 on the cushion there and running behind the 75 of Stoney Benfield. He's got to his inside the 18 of Bentley. Oh no, that's the 48 of John Fowler. Like you, still trying to pick up the names. And how about Doug Stigman running lucky 13th right now?
Maybe I need to call you Doug Stigman from now on. I don't know, but he's up there hanging in there, and that's the
Don't call me late for dinner.
That's the basically the equalizer being in this draft. I mean, it pulls everybody up there. Guys you might not see up in the front at all this season, showing up at the front in this race right now, trying to get some sponsor time and stuff like that. And I know we got a lot of the North Carolina 811 cars and their respective state 811 cars out here on the track. But hey, everybody else has got sponsors too, as we see Josh Parker being aggressive in that United Rentals number 81. Trying to make some moves there on the outside lane, but unfortunately he's getting sent backwards.
With him.
Nobody.
Yeah, he's got Sigmund right behind him. You know, Sigmund's one of those guys, like a bunch of these guys that are involved with real race teams. We see him some nights, Saturday nights out at Hickory helping the super late model team, and You know, some of these drivers, they work for NASCAR, work in different teams, and we got trouble up in the front. One car turns left, two cars to the grass, yellow, coming out for contact. I'm not sure which one of those trans service cars, I think it might have been the 58, got hooked and off in the grass it went.
Yep, Charles Woods, Robert Ferrari goes sideways into the grass on the back straightaway.
Okay.
And that's going to bring out the 5th caution now. So these cars just having a hard time out here. These drivers are struggling.
It was a 3 wide situation there. Unfortunately, bad timing. Pedro went to the high side as the 77 was moving up, and they just became the meat in the sandwich there.
Yeah, they go right through the road course there, bus stop, if you will, and bringing out the caution. And one thing I can say is with these cars struggling, I mean, this is abnormal. Let's put it like that. This series has a really good tendency of putting on fantastic shows on these super speedway tracks. So I think tonight is just more the drivers are just having issues than anything here. I don't know if I can sum it up too aggressive or whatnot, but in this situation here, let's watch the replay in slow-mo. But you see, it looks like the 58 gets a good run up the middle. Gets pushed by Dalton, go to the middle, and Frary, I don't know if he goes up to block the move here, but it pushes Mojica up into Charles Woods, and unfortunately they go spinning. Yeah, tough situation there.
I think he just lost a little situational awareness. He came off the corner, the 77, Ferrari the third. The car got loose, drifted up a little bit. Kevin DeBrown saw him, gave him the space. He came back down, corrected to the bottom line, and when he was moving back up to single out with the car in front of him, I don't think he knew that the 58 was right there with him.
And that brings the 5th caution out here. And a lot of cars back on pit road again. Here, top it off. Oh, and one car just got, Tyler Dalton just got the inside wall coming off pit road. I don't know if he got turned or spun the tires or something. I looked up and saw him hit the wall. We got action everywhere tonight. Just, is there a full moon tonight? What's going on here?
Yeah, it looks like he just spun the tires coming up out of the pit stall, and the car nose left into it. Don't know if he got some damage. We'll see if he comes back in and gets that front pulled out from the left front wheel there. Hopefully he didn't break a toe link or something like that.
So,
been an eventful night there, Chris.
it has been. We're going to step away for a quick second again. We're going to hear from 811, and when we get back, a special guest is going to join us in the booth. So stand by for 1 second.
If recent storms have caused damage to your property, contact 811 before you begin your cleanup. Buried utilities around uprooted trees can make a bad situation worse if those lines are not located before digging. Electric, natural gas, and internet lines are everywhere, and knowing where they are is the safest way to start any digging project. Call North Carolina 811 by dialing 811 or by using single address ticket on nc811.org or the NC811 app.
All right, back we are as we're about to go green here. Just past the halfway point as Captain joins you. Kevin England joining me in the booth, and special guest going to join us as he's not in the race tonight. He's actually, I don't know if he's on his way back or back already, but he was down in O-Town at the 407. I think the zip code still is down there, or the area code. that being of Orlando, Florida. Joey Jatina, hello, sir.
Hey guys, yeah, we're making our way down the road. A little bit more control on the interstate than what we're seeing on the racetrack tonight.
I was going to say maybe a little bit slower speed limits, but I think the cars are a handful for these guys tonight.
Yeah, I'd be afraid to ride with some of them out here on the interstate right now. I don't know. I talked to Mike Kelly, who's subbing in there for me tonight, and I got to thank him and all the other admins. But the 75% fuel could be causing the problem.
Yeah.
Not really sure, but obviously we run the tracks as hot as we can get them to push our ability, our drivers' talents. We don't run these things on cold tracks, and so that I think we're seeing a lot of this race car by doing that. So it could be a combination of things, but we'll look at it and see what we can do to make it a better race come next week, since it is one of our longer events.
And obviously the biggest event for the season. New season, obviously, North Carolina 811 has come back, and not only that, as we see Parker going up the middle, Beasley going up the middle, but they've jumped on board also with the Grand National Series, which kicked off last weekend. Yeah,
and then real fast, then we got some racing action going on tonight, but definitely wanted to jump on and thank everybody at NC 811, Miss Ann, Mr. Stoney, everybody that's been a part of that second season. So yes, we're here on the NC 811 Cup Series side, and of course Sunday nights, both series live on the Captain Esports Network. So we're grateful to have you back, Chris. I think we've got a strong package this year with everything. We learned a lot from last year. We're going to be better this year, so we're excited. So anyways, I said, just want to jump on here. I know you got a lot of action. Go ahead.
They tried to wreck again. Down the back straightaway. There are a couple cars, but no, Joey, go ahead. Finish up what you're saying. I think we're okay.
Yeah, to finish up, I thank you guys, both you and Kevin, and awesome to see that 811 is on the front row between John Higman Jr. and Tyler Dalton. Tyler put a lot of work into helping his teammates. So an all NC 811 front row. So we can't ask for more. But guys, thank y'all so much. We're looking forward to this year. And again, remember to call before you dig. 811, guys, North Carolina 811. Thank y'all. Have a great race. Talk to y'all soon.
You too, buddy. Be safe driving up 75 there. And as Joey Jatina, the boss man, checking in with us on the highway here. We appreciate his time joining us in the booth. But these guys are scattering everywhere. As David Comstock has gone to the lead, and Stoney Benfield was up there for a second. I was like, man, this could be perfect timing of Stoney Benfield going to the lead of this race as he gets the shout out for the sponsorship here. But I don't know what to say about this, Kevin. It's so tricky right now with the way the handling is of these cars. It's almost like everybody needs to just give each other space. How weird that sounds.
Yeah, and that's the opposite of what we see here. Everybody's taking whatever.
Oh, they're wrecking in the back. Wrecking in the back. Let's see who that is back there. Scott Simley, Jose Gonzalez, and Wesley Donaldson. I promise he's back there somewhere. Bringing out the caution again. Unfortunately, what has turned into I hate to use the word, but wreck fest in the end here tonight. And very just unorthodox for the league. And I think there's so many factors coming into play here tonight. And I hate to see that for this race, but caution out for the sixth time for, I speak for both leagues I cover now, basically two leagues now. It's these guys, SIM500 and the All-American ARCA series on Friday nights. I think arguably two of the best series you'll see super speedway racing. And I mean, we go back to Talladega last season. You and I our jaws were on the floor with what we were seeing out there. But these cars in Daytona have just.
Yeah. These cautions don't concern me. It means these guys are up on the wheel. They're racing for it. They're not laying back. They're not riding around like you see typically. These guys they want to win.
And I'm more.
And you know how it is, Chris. You're in the back. Yeah. The only way you're going to get to the front is to charge, and we see a lot of that. I was watching the 19 of Tyler Dalton. We saw him make that contact with the pit road to update his story. He did come back to pit road, got the car fixed, and restarted out in the back on that restart. And he's made his way up to the 18th position right now. He was working with the 54, trying to get he and his teammate back into contention here after running up front the whole time. And you see these incidents with these guys. Sometimes it's just a miscommunication too.
And that's kind of what this one looks like. You see Simley kind of moves to the middle here, and I think he went to follow somebody, and the 91 was there, and it just turned into issues. But yeah, and the reason I bring all this up about the racing and stuff is more to tell the viewers, if you're a first time viewer tonight watching this, you know, I don't want you to have the impression when you watch this of like, oh, this is every week. No, it's not.
Not at all. It's highly unusual.
Don't judge a book by its cover by the first thing. I know a lasting impression, that kind of thing, whole yada, yada, yada. But a lot of factors coming into play here tonight. But we do appreciate the viewers. I know we got over 20 at one point in this race. But Casey Carrington watching on the chat from the All-American ARCA Series asking the format. Just 160 lap race. And basically inside is the odd finishers, the outside's the even finishers for next week's race. Basically everybody will race. Nobody's going home. And so on and so forth. I think I covered everything. But
there's a question we have to figure out. In qualifying, 2 drivers ran the same time for that second slot. We'll have to figure out how they determine which one gets the nod for second.
It'll be iRacing that decided that. And basically how that works is by the thousandth of a second. And here, I'm going to do something I usually don't do on the stream here. I'm going to pull down everything really quickly, and I'm going to bring up iRacing. On my screen here, so you're gonna notice everything disappear here except for pit road. All right, so basically bring up my iRacing screen. Don't mind the stuff you're seeing at the bottom of the screen, because apparently people are unhappy, but anyways,
so Higman ran a 50.034.
There's your
Dalton ran a 50.036, and Jimmy Coleman 50.036. So they'll have to toss a coin maybe between those two.
Right, basically what that one would come down to would be the 10,000th, which is the next decimal over. Unfortunately, iRacing only does by the 1,000th, but this is where you'll see the separation of times. You know, Higman obviously got the pole with the 34, then Dalton with a 36, Coleman with a 36, Campbell a 38, Coleman with a 40, Gonzalez a 43, and then a 51, a 53. I mean, all these times are...
So you're thinking that iRacing self-classified these, we just don't get the data?
Unfortunately, with the timing I have on the SDK app, they go to the 100s instead of thousands on here. So that's basically the difference. So iRacing's got it set up right. It's just a matter of, unfortunately, we only saw by the hundreds in the decimal column. And
well, we'll have it sorted out for next weekend for sure.
Yeah, the poll, the top 2 are the top 2. You know, when it's over with, unless there's something different that I don't know that Joey and those guys set it up different. But according to iRacing, which is usually the majority of leagues go off of, Tyler Dalton was the second fastest car. And it probably broke down by like the thousandths or the 10,000s or even the 100,000ths or, well, I guess it'd be the millions.
Yeah.
I don't know how far back we go. But as far as I know, pi is 3.1459. Continuing.
That's that Florida math. So we're working lap 42 of 60. And look who's out front again. Donnie Leah in the Haviland Ford Thunderbird. No, Mustang. Sorry.
Back in the day, it was
that tells you how old school I am. When I see Haviland on a car, I'm going to call it a Thunderbird.
What was the old slogan? Oh, gosh. It was have no life in your car, take it to the star. Was that the old slogan?
Yeah, I mean, look, I know it's a Mustang. Tongue in cheek there, but whenever I see Haviland, it's a Ford Thunderbird, and I think of Davey.
That's awesome. As pace car pulls back in, we go back racing. 19 laps to go to decide this. What has turned into a slight version of a demo derby.
Yeah, the 38 of Chad Coleman now in a good mix, and his teammate, the 13 of Comstock to the outside. All of these guys kind of work together, and they have taken over the race when it comes to track position. So we'll see how that plays out for this group of drivers that call themselves Team Name. You got the 44, though, sitting right there in the mix of Glenn Campbell from SIM500 Mafia. And you got Hollifield in the 11 having a good run in the NC811.org Camaro.
Yeah, basically there's only like 4 or 5 people. One of them has like 20 people, another one has 20 people, and then you got the others with like 1 or 2. Oh, and I wreck it again. Doug Sigmund, Frary, Gonzalez.
Ooh, a couple big hits there.
You know who this race is falling into the hands of? I'm going to point him out here in a second once we show this replay. Because there's one particular guy that, when a race like this happens, is going to show up at the front all of a sudden, and we're going to be like, yep, go figure. But first, let's show you the replay before. We'll call that a tease, by the way, in broadcasting.
There's one theme that we've seen here is a lot of this trouble, except for the one incident occurred mid-pack. So if you can get yourself up front in this pack, a lot of drivers want to be out in front of the mess. Strategy is run as hard as you can and get yourself out to the front part of this and drive around it.
And the problem is now is we're running out of laps, so people are trying to get what they can get out of this. And, well,
there's 17 laps to go. That's quite a distance here at Daytona, actually. So,
trying to see where the wreck breaks out here. You know, I see that white and blue car gets turned. That Sigmund gets turned out of the middle of the pack. And debris and everything goes flying. You see Gonzalez gets lifted off the ground by Gerald Livingston. 91 gets another piece of it. I think Randy, is that Yoakum smoking now? See Joe Hudson going through the grass. There's Fowler. Oh, look out, pit crew. Thankfully, no air guns were injured in this accident.
You know, there's something we haven't talked about in the context of how hard these cars are to drive coming up off the corner. We saw it early in the race. The car comes off the corner and the right rear just steps out. The car yaws to the left, and then it wants to come back up the racetrack. In this case, Sigmund running through the middle line must have been driving the car hard up off the corner. You put a lot of pressure on that right rear wheel, and at some point it just loses the traction. The car steps out, and then it comes back across the racetrack. In this case, he came across and caught Doug Roth, and unfortunately, Pro Systems Camaro got turned around sideways and took a couple knocks.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily in this one. I mean, I don't see him really veer left, but what I do see is the 04 just kind of come up the track. Like, I don't know if he thought he was clear or something. Just looking at this replay here, it looks like...
I think he was just trying to catch a car.
Was he? Okay. Maybe.
Yeah. When the car comes off the corner, you can't see it too much in the wheel, but he's driving the car back across the racetrack to try and catch it a little. You know, this is that kite feeling where the car just kind of starts to float coming up off the corner. You feel it, especially if you're down. What I see is driving this car, especially in the latest updates, off the bottom of the corner. You come off the corner, you got wheel, typically you got that left front right on the yellow line, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, whoa, the car steps out, and you get that feeling where you're turning right. And sometimes you put the right amount of wheel, and other times when you turn it right, the car just comes back to the right. And you're really kind of alone for a ride at that point until the car sets back into the racetrack. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of that tonight up off the corner.
And that's been the casualty, unfortunately, for a lot of cars this evening. Now, as the caution came out, I said, all right, this race is falling into somebody's hands. And yes, it's you're immediately thinking the guys up front. Aha! Check out this guy back here. He just went to pit road just to kind of go in here, top off the field, stay out of trouble, stay out of everybody's way. Yeah. This is turning into a Brian Wortman type of race right here. And you don't believe me? Wait till later when we get down to 5 laps to go and half the field is unfortunately out because of issues. And, well, if Brian Wortman doesn't take the crew out first, which... Random question.
Get it in there, Brian.
How did Brian Wortman get the first pit stall off pit road?
Well, when you qualify out back and they run out of spaces, they line you up in position 1 and 2. We saw Jerry pitting over top of Tyler Dalton there. They can pit, they don't see the car in front of them, and it's kind of weird, but that's how it works.
I forgot that we had 42 cars. I was thinking, like, wait, there's like 36 cars. Now it's 42.
But I notice Brian, every time we come back to green, he's coming down the backstretch as the field's rolling around turn 4. He's been running that typical race up conservative Morgan Shepherd style run And then all of a sudden, half the cars with the damage they received through the event, he's got a car that's clean and competitive. He can get up there and get past these guys. When you come back to green, he's in the mix. Now, he's coming off turn 4. The field's going into turn 1, and we've got 14 laps to go.
That's, by the way, former second-place finisher Morgan Shepherd at Daytona 500 1992. As already 3 wide off the back straightaway.
Old Morgan, he knew how to race a race car, no doubt about it.
He can roller skate, too, most of the time.
And he could, yeah.
Chad Coleman going to the front with help from his team name partner, Mojica. Josh Parker there behind him, and then Holyfield, you mentioned him in the 11. See if these guys, after, unfortunately, 45 laps of mayhem, will they self-police themselves now?
I see full court press. I look through this field here, 2 by 2 by 2, drivers looking in the middle, looking at the top, swapping lanes. They're not concerned about the cautions. They got one thing on their mind. They see checkered flags.
And I see Ron Holyfield making a move to the bottom for the lead.
No, there's another driver kind of biding his time out back. Talking about Joe Hudson in that number 15 GT Mustang. He's just kind of riding out back. Not sure if he got any dings or dangs on that car, but Joe's the kind of guy that sneaks up there and gets himself a win every once in a while.
Justin Mons coming up the middle as Kevin DeBrown throws a little block there and gets a little shove. Oh, they're trying to wreck.
Now they're 3 abreast, and it is so hard to run that middle lane with the car to the outside and all the cars moving around, especially, as we said, coming up off the corner. It is nerve-wracking white knuckle coming off that corner with that car in your inside mirror.
Parker's trying to form the Piper line on the top side here with Coleman and Mohican, Rivera and Glazier.
Yeah, Parker, he's one of the most adept people I know running that high line. He'll come in that high line like Dale Earnhardt Jr. just about every lap. And
Kevin DeBrown's
when
blown
he gets out front,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but Kevin DeBrown has blown a motor or something or gotten in the wall, but he is off the pace here. Cuts it down the pit road, and unfortunately, Kevin gonna be out of this thing as all of a sudden, this race has turned into a single file line.
how about that? Yeah, everybody saw that top line, Dale Earnhardt Jr. style, and they decided they want a piece of that action and got up there. They thought the top line was going to take off. Now we see a couple of these guys out in front of them kind of fanning out and seeing if they can make the run, but this changes the dynamic of the race totally.
Big time. There's a lot of cars are getting separated out now. As we come to 10 laps to go here in this race, this is an interesting concept that has come up here. And you wonder if this was talked about or if this was one of those repeat type things. As Tommy Ryan goes down to the bottom, going to try to make some moves as a couple cars check up.
Yeah, this could wholly be orchestrated by Parker, Coleman, Mojica, Rivera, and those guys. They are teammates, a lot of them, and they're in the mix there. Justin Mons, Comstock is in amongst that group, and Donnie Lee is, I think, one of the odd guys out, although he rides with those guys every once in a while. So they just kind of figured if they can protect the high line here, and then with 2 to go, it's game on. They'll split up and go get it, but at least they're battling in and amongst themselves.
And this does work, by the way, in this car. You can't really do this in any other car, but when this car came out, I learned really quickly when I was practicing when I won my 500 last season. I was able to put this car either at the top or the bottom, and if you could have a train go with you, it was fast.
Yeah, and a couple of these guys that might have fast enough race cars lost the draft. Looking at Mike Kelly, looking at John Higman, looking at Tyler Dalton and Jimmy Coleman. They are off this lead draft, don't have a clue as to how they could potentially get back up there. Really, they're looking for a caution to get back into the mix.
There are lots of people that are probably going to be scratching their head when this race is over with, like, how do I fix this? How do I do this next week?
Yeah, every one of these is like a mystery science theater. You just don't know how to play it. I got to give a call to Tommy Ryan there in that 99. He's out in the back doing the Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski thing. He dropped off the back. He's getting the draft. He hooks it left, tries to see if he can get a run, and then draft up. He's trying to learn, and he's one of those guys that could sneak in there and steal a win at the end of this race.
If only there was a side draft, you could pull the car back and jump back in line, but that doesn't work. I mean, well, I guess in iRacing it would work a lot more in real life, but yeah, we're coming
Not
off.
a lot of side draft in this car, from what I know.
Well, in iRacing, you can side draft it a little better than you can in real life. But Parker leads him to the line, 7 laps to go here. And he's got Chad Coleman there, just pushing him. And of course, you mentioned Joe Hudson earlier. Joe did win the last Super Speedway race in the Cup car that was ran at Talladega back last season late. You got Chad Coleman there's got himself a couple Super Speedway wins. He's up there. And you got a lot of drivers that did not win races last season up here in the front. So a lot of people trying
Drivers
to
duck out on the bottom line, trying to see if they can get something going here. Scott Stenzel steps out of line. He's got the 11 right behind him. The 99 of Ryan goes in. You got Hollifield trying to see if he can make something move on the bottom there by pushing the personal comfort car, the 42 of Stenzel. This is where it turns in from utter white knuckle chaos to chess match. These drivers trying to figure out if they can make the bottom line work, because riding at the top is going to do nothing but finish in 10th.
I wonder if this handling is causing this line to work. Because you're not turning the wheel as much, which is not creating the looseness out of the caution's out. Trouble somewhere. The caution is out. And I see Jose Gonzalez with issues.
It's actually going to save Brian Werdman. He's just out in front of this lead pack here.
There's Gonzalez. Back here in the Smashburger mobile.
We should say, Chris, tires are not a factor generally. These drivers had a couple sets to put on, but you don't see a lot of tire wear at this type of racetrack. And the comment that Joey made was quite interesting concerning the temperature of the track, because now we find out what was the cause of this.
Can't tell who that multicolored car was. But for some odd reason, they were 3 wide for a while. Oh, it all started off turn 4, basically. So Gonzalez is going to get...
I think it was Jose, wasn't it? Yeah.
Gonzalez gets a little loose off 4, and he ends up getting put in the middle 3 wide. That's Charles Van Schaik on the outside lane in the SpongeBob SquarePants car. Patrick is not going to be happy about this.
Yeah, just a little wiggle came over and got the quarter panel, and again the air from the car coming through the center. Once the air packs up on that nose and comes off the right front, it disturbs the car to the outside, and we saw the 23 get a little wiggle, and unfortunately Gonzalez, that Trans-Service Toyota is a mess.
Let me, while we have a minute, let's bring up Jimmy Coleman. I want to talk to Jimmy here for a second, and the reason why I want to bring Jimmy up here, Jimmy, I know you're running back in 16th right now. I figured you might be the one to pull up here, because I have to ask, is everyone scratching their heads right now with what's going on?
Yeah, I think you'd be correct on that one. It's different, man. I don't know, really. It's kind of hard to explain. Like I say, it's get a little bit cleaner race, but I don't know how to really explain it, man. These runs are just different than what we're used to, so I think everybody's having a hard time adapting to it.
So is it the runs that you're getting into the pack and maybe the aggressiveness from it that's causing this, or is it handling? The car's just not cooperating, or what are you feeling that could be causing the issue?
I think the runs, and just I don't know what it is this time around, but I feel like they're even more massive, especially if you're just a few car lengths back, and then nobody, everybody's just not anticipating it, so it's causing checkups, and it's part of the reason why you've seen some of the wrecks. But as far as handling, it's really not been that bad. It's just time of the runs and getting used to it.
Interesting. That's an interesting concept what to bring up. So I know as you guys get ready to come to the green here with less than 4 laps to go, I expect those runs to become bigger here towards the end of this race.
Yep, that would be correct. Probably see some. Probably going to see an exciting finish here. You'll probably definitely see some 3 wide racing here in just a minute, so it's going to get fun.
Absolutely. One last question before I let you go. Is this one of those things where if you have a car behind you, like right now, you've got Doug Sigmund there behind you, you've got John there in front of you in the 60. Is this one of those, as long as you have a car behind you, it pretty much sets you up for a big-time run?
Yep. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, as long as we can work together, man, it's really hard to get by them. So.
Interesting. Well, thanks for your time, man.
Hey, no problem. Appreciate it.
You too. As Jimmy Coleman getting ready to restart 16th, and what do you think about that?
Yeah, he said no handling problems, but that's one of the biggest veterans of the series. And he came out of driving cars that did not handle from back in the day, so this is probably a cakewalk for him. But I'll take his word for it. If he says the car's handling okay, then maybe we're seeing it wrong.
I mean, you think about it, a lot of the wrecks have come from either checkups or runs or just being in the middle of the pack. So that's interesting to think about. So maybe it's not technically a handling thing as much as it is a run thing. And if that's the case, I do not want to be in Josh Parker's shoes right now.
Yeah, Chris, what I tell you is everybody's building their notebook, right? First race of the year, you're getting the cobwebs out. And for them, a lot of drivers are trying to learn something here that they can take into possibly winning next week's big race. And there'll be a lot of discussion after this race about the dynamics of how the cars drove, the strategy. Every driver will go back and look at it again because it's the only data they have to work to go into next week's 500.
Yeah, safe to say that next week's race will be not like this at all. So we'll see how it all transpires as we'll come to an unofficial green-white checker. We do have 2 laps to go technically as we go to the green here as we come to lap 58. Are we done wrecking? Here we go. I have faith in the guys, put it like that. As already I see the outside line starting to form up. Everybody's moving to the top. As Coleman shifts to the bottom with Parker kind of leaving Rivera there. Now Parker side drafts Coleman. It almost wrecks them, and here he comes to the front.
Yeah, all these drivers know that we got contact out to the middle. Beasley sideways. Can he save it? He comes back up through the field, and yeah, they're going to collect a couple cars. Not sure if that's going to draw a caution, though. Yeah, it is.
Coleman just got
So there's your answer.
Yeah, I had faith. That's
That
actually
car going backwards there.
that's Coleman getting spun, or not Coleman, but Campbell getting spun. I saw Rivera get turned into the wall a little bit too, so this is going to bring in a SIM500 overtime here for this race.
You know, there's another data point that we've not talked about, Chris, which is pushing. Drivers are trying to learn how to push in this car because in the end, sometimes that is the difference between a win and a last place finish or whatever it's going to be. And they need to learn how to push here in this series. So some of these drivers doing it now, that kind of looks like the 11 came up across the nose and kicked that off when he got into the 99 of Ryan. Not sure why the car turned left there on the straightaway, but
Trying to see who else. A couple.
I thought they were going to drive out of it, though.
I mean, that seemed to be one of the longest wrecks I've ever seen to happen. Like, it starts in the middle of the straightaway, and then, there's Rivera. He gets it straightened out. There goes the 10 around. He goes spinning. He drives back down the track. Then finally the 44 goes around. Then there goes 2 other cars in the inside lane. Meanwhile, we're in turn 3 now as the wreck is still happening.
Yeah, the chrome on Campbell's cars looks really cool, but it now looks like a dented can. Well, this is going to set up an interesting finish. You're going to have 2 to go as they come across the stripe here. When we get back to green, it's basically going to be a shootout. And I don't think... How many green-white checkers do we have? 2.
2, thankfully.
I think we're going to use them tonight.
You think? There's a chance. And I hate sounding negative like that, but it's like...
Call me Carnac.
I mean, look at what's happened.
I love this kind of thing because then you get to see, well, in the heat of the moment, when you're on kill, what are the moves the driver's going to make? You love to watch the decision process of these guys up front, left, right. We saw the 81 just a moment on display, right? When we saw Josh Parker make that move, try to side draft, go up. That's the type of thing I love to watch and learn how these drivers attack a 2-lap shootout.
I think
There's skill.
I think I want to be Brian Wortman. I literally do.
Yeah, Brian won't race until the green-white checkered is on.
No, Brian will race
He's
coming off
still
turn
kinda
4
running
to
in
the
the back
checkered flag. And that's it. That little quarter-mile strip is Brian Wortman's race. Hey, I appreciate the viewers watching tonight. I know we got over 20 at one point, still sitting at 16. But if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. If you're watching over on YouTube, or if you're watching on either of the Facebook channels, hit the I guess it would be follow or like or whatever it would be on those channels. I don't pay attention much, but appreciate you joining us. And yeah, we're in for a wild one here, as we should get one to go this time, Bri. Yeah, Miles, Brian Wortman, and I have been racing each other for over 10 years now. We've shared the story multiple times of, he actually shared was it a photo, I think it was, about a week ago of a race that he and I had actually popped up on his, or no, I'm sorry, he went through the YouTube page of the league that we were racing in, and he found a photo or something of myself. You can see me in the race, and he's in that race, and this is, I mean, I think it was in black and white. I mean, it was way back, like 10 years ago.
I shared one with the SIM500 Mafia recently. I want to say it was the 1998 season. I had a tower with a 386 and a gig hard drive. It had the floppy disk drive, 5 1/4, not 3 1/2. We were racing NASCAR back then when you run and you would collate your results and mail them through the mail to someone, and they would calculate your results against somebody else. I found that picture the other day in an old photo album. I thought that was really neat to share with everybody.
You remind me of those times when I was too young to do it, but the best friend of mine's older brother would do fantasy football, and back then they did the results all through the newspaper, but literally before the lineups were set, you had to grab your phone and call in the lineup to the commissioner and say, all right, my starting lineup is so-and-so, Brett Favre, Emmitt Smith, whatever, you know. But anyways.
Lights are out on the pace car. We're about to get back through this. You got Josh Parker holding down the lead with a game Donnie Leah to the outside. You never know what Chad Coleman's going to do. Comstock, he was there every week last year in the top 5 towards the end. He's going to be a threat for a championship this season. It's about time to get it on. Green is out. These guys go back to green here at Daytona.
Pace car going to get the bonus points for leading the most laps tonight. And as a matter of fact, I've heard rumored that the lights on the pace car will be changed after this caution because of wear and tear. But either way, Parker to the top side with Donnie Leah pushing, leaving Chad Coleman to the bottom. Smart move here because now it's 2x2 and it's all of the team name guys right there. Bentley, Glazier, and the 18 car down at the bottom. There's David Comstock in here. Here comes Justin Mons, who, by the way, started 40th in this race.
How about the recovery for Pedro Mojica as he pushes the 38 of Chad Coleman to the lead, then jumps to the outside, wants a piece of it in his own.
Mons pushing Comstock to the front. And for the life of this league, get to the white flag. We did it. White flag. Fire, and there they go.
Did you see that crossover move from Chad Coleman across the back bumper? I thought he was going to tag Mojica. Now Mojica working with Glazer. These two are tandem. They got to worry about whether the car overheats, but on the last lap, not a concern as the 81 of Parker turns these 38.
Yo!
That was not part of the plan.
No, it wasn't. That's the second Coleman to get turned in the infield this lap. So now Parker's going to hold Mojica off. Here comes Glazier. Here comes Stoney Benfield with a run on the top side. Here comes Joe Hudson. Here comes Santa Claus, Rudolph, and there they go.
Oh. Big pile up out of turn number 4 as they race back to the finish. Who's it going to be?
Josh Parker wins the Royal Rumble, if you will.
What a finish.
Mojica second. Ah.
When you come off turn 4, Parker, he's on the outside. Mojica's in the lead, and it was a drag race up off the corner. Mojica moved up, tried to draft him a little bit. Down with the block goes the 81, and Mojica got there, but not in time to get the finish, and it's the 81 of Josh Parker securing the win.
Yes, Parker with the win. Mojica second. You know what? Let me just throw this out there now. In NASCAR, they say that when you bring the backup cars out, you have to start at the back of the field. Every car is going to have a backup car, so the starting order won't change.
Yeah, Comstock came across the line in third, followed by the 38 of Coleman, who made the recovery. And behind them, I don't know who. There's a huge pile of cars piled over there in turn 4.
I'm going to add that one to the have you ever list. No, I've never. All right, let's see if we can break this all down. And what has taken place. This actually... I don't even know. I don't know where to start, man. Let's go back to... let's go back to the white flag. When I think somebody dared Jimmy Coleman. And
Wait a minute. Hold on. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Was the 81 a lap down? I don't know if it's an iRacing thing, but if you look at the results, did we miss this?
He might have got penalized or something, but on my timing and scoring, I've got him in the lead.
Okay. I'm just checking because I was looking at the final results. I was just looking over at the tally.
I got you. No, as I watch this here, so this all goes back to coming to the white flag. Jimmy Coleman. I don't know. I'm trying to make this a lighter moment because unfortunately the race, was a rough one. But try to put some comedy into this. So as they take the white flag, you see the 29 gets turned with contact with Comstock, which tends Jimmy Coleman and Comstock heading for turn 1 of the road course. They must have been dared to go to the road course for the final lap. Thankfully, they realized it was a joke and saved it. And then basically Parker goes tandem. We're going to speed it up here with Chad Coleman. Get bumper hooked right there. What a save by Coleman. And then we're going to go down the back straightaway here. And this is when mayhem breaks out. Stoney Benfield had an incredible... If Justin Mons left the back of Stoney, if Mons sticks with Stoney, we might be looking at the 75 in victory lane here, but everybody just gets into a pile. Everybody comes together and they all wreck. And everybody, there's no lifting at this point. Everybody's just going to the finish at this point.
You have to wonder if the 49 of Mons got a piece of the apron. Of course, the banking of the track is severe. And down there in turn number 4, he was hugging that yellow line. Maybe he touched the apron. The car looked like it got a little unsettled, came up into Bentley Glazer, and then Joe Hudson, and to your point, everybody else in that stack. Tommy Ryan was there, and the 75 of Benfield got turned, and they were running 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and from then on, everybody behind them got collected, and it just left the 81 of Parker and the 58 of Mojica to run to the finish. Not the way we wanted to see it, but, this is what we said. Everybody be white-knuckle, elbows up, trying to get that win. And, well, unfortunately, that's just the byproduct of that type of racing coming off turn 4 for the win.
It is. And as you see, we're sitting on board with Brian Wortman, and there's a reason why I show you this. I am about 99.9% sure this is your one car with 0 incident points. And I ought to put a petition together that says Brian Wortman should start on pole by default. Look at this. They're all wrecking. He, instead of going flying through the field, decides, I'm just going to slow up. Let everybody wreck. Everybody's still wrecking. People are still wrecking. We're just going to drive through here like he's done this before and take a 20th place finish.
Position.
And be okay with it.
Position.
Pretty much. All
No,
right.
I don't know.
As I said, we're trying to keep the moment light here. It's been, unfortunately, a rough night for these guys, but yeah, now it is showing Mojica as the winner, so we'll have to get official results here, but I believe Josh Parker is the winner of this race. Mojica, Comstock, Chad Coleman, Bentley Glazier. How about Jeff Ryan finishes in 5th or 6th? Kevin Stone, Donnie Leah, Charles Woods, Jose Medina, and I guess that would be your top 10 technically, but we'll say Mike Kelly here in the 10th or 11th position. I'll let you read some here if you want.
Yeah, 11th goes to Tyler Dalton. Stoney Benfield scored in 12th. This is unofficial at this point. 13th is Charles Van Scheck. Scott Stenzel, 42 finishes 14th, 15th for Richard Beasley in the 10. Nelson Rivera brings the double deuce home in the...
I got him 16th.
16th position. Yeah, there you go. Sorry, I just lost my spot there. 17th for Calantoni in the 84. Jerry Livingston, 96, is going to finish 18th. 19th for Brian Wertman. And 20th for Justin Mons. It's Doy Woods, Doug Sigmund, Jimmy Coleman, Wesley Donaldson, and Joe Hudson takes you to 25th. Behind them, Tommy Ryan. And then you have Josh Parker, 1 lap down. So we'll get a ruling on this in a moment. Ron Hollifield, Jose Gonzalez, John Higman Jr., John Fowler finishes 31st, 32nd for Glenn Campbell. He was 5 laps down, 8 laps down for Randy Yoakum. These drivers didn't finish the race. Doug Roth, Robert Fryery III, Mike Chaja. Kevin D. Brown, Scott Simley, Mike Montesi out early, Casey Duncan, Brian Macklin, and it's Eric Arnold. Scratch on the field, finishing 42nd.
So we do know that 28 through 42nd's official. The rest of the field, Josh Parker is probably the biggest one in question when it's all said and done here. So I'm actually, let me
I see him sitting down there in the waiting room, so my guess is he feels like...
Yeah, see if there's any...
Let's see if we can pull him up and get a word with him. Why not?
Why not? Let's get him up here as I go looking real quickly at the Monday. There's nothing in the discussion, so... All right, let's get Josh here. Josh, obviously a wild race here, and I see the...
I won.
All right, he's saying he's yelling I won randomly out here. What in the world's going on?
I got spun out after the checker, so I was already facing backwards, so I drove backwards, and it was going to go the wrong way. But I ignored it, and it DQ'd me anyway. But I was telling Mike, I was like, no matter how it spits out the results, just whatever, we'll roll with it. I really don't care. It's just Daytona. But yeah, that's what happened. It gave me the wrong way. I ignored it, thinking it wouldn't black flag me since the race was over, and I just kept going, and it black flagged me for go
There
backwards.
you go.
So, what a race!
I won.
Did
They were
anyone?
They were all yelling at me that I wasn't holding my line, but that was the purpose. I didn't want them to know where the hell I was going. What do you want me to do? Yeah, they're all yelling at me, but I won.
Talk about the race, because
I
think
won.
Outside of that,
it was fun. It was interesting. It kind of felt stupid at first. I feel like this 5th gear is not right because it's so low, and the runs that we get, I feel like you're stuck in each other's netcode, which is that also makes these cars feel like they're going left and right when they're not. I've noticed that. I think if you're actually trying to push somebody really hard, the netcode is just sending the cars left and right when they're actually not going left and right. But if you're not that close to a guy, you have no run. It felt really off, but it was, I guess the ending was fun though.
Obviously, you had a lot of battling. You've worked your way from the back to the front. You were involved in that first wreck. Talking to a couple drivers, they were saying that basically the runs were very strong. I mean, what do we soup this up to? Is it the slickness of the cars? Is it the net coating as you talked about? Is it the aggressiveness? Is it the draft? What caused this mayhem?
I think it's the lifting, to be honest. I think it's the cars that are going, again, like squirrely, people are lifting a lot. And like I said, if you lift, you lose all momentum because the gears is so tall. So I think the lifting is causing a lot of the runs. I mean, we did it there with like 10 to go. We had 3, 4 of us lined up, first, second, third, fourth, and there was really no runs being generated. I mean, there was a little bit, but that was the middle car can be back and forth like a pinball. But I think that's a lot of it. A lot of it's just the cars doing weird things and people are lifting, and then the guy behind you is already getting pushed. So that's where the runs being created.
So, with that being said, did the fuel maybe play a
No,
role in
God,
this?
no.
No.
God,
Okay.
man, if anything, the fuel would have made it better. Lighter, would have had a little more downforce on the front. I mean, I don't know. I think, yeah, NASCAR Heat's right around the corner. Might be playing that soon.
Well, you take United Reynolds to victory lane, so Ryan Priest will be proud of you, and Austin Hill and others who run that paint scheme. But great job tonight. You're going to start third, it looks like, unofficially in the 500 next week. Give some shout-outs whoever you like to.
Yeah, you guys doing the broadcast. This was a little painful. Everyone over at Team Name, Pedro, David, Chad, Donnie was over there having fun. Kevin, Joey, everyone over here at SIM500. I don't know, everyone in that race because that was a shit show, but it was fun.
And you about sent Chad to the lake.
Yeah. So he pushed me for 4 laps without lifting. So I pushed him for a quarter of a lap, and I didn't lift, and he almost wrecked. So obviously I'm not good at it.
Or is Chad that talented?
I didn't want to say it, but you did.
I'm okay with that. Well, great job, man. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
All right, you too, buddy. That is Josh Parker, what position again? He left out. I was trying to get I won out of it again. But man, what a race that was. So, hey, Kev, why don't you talk to the man that looks to go 3 for 3 in leagues broadcasted by Captain Esports Network in championships. That's Pedro Mojica.
Yeah, here we are with the Transervice Camaro driver, Pedro Mojica. Pedro, so close and yet so far. It was a lot of work to finish second, but did you learn something?
Yeah, for sure. We learned quite a bit in that race, so.
Sorry.
You were leading off of turn 4. You had a nose ahead of Parker. He was able to draw away, saw you try to manipulate the air the best you could, but you couldn't seem to pull him back. What did you need to win coming out of the corner? Would you try something different?
I mean, I didn't want to make the move that quick. It's just like I thought I was pushing him, and he moved a little bit higher than I anticipated getting in the corner. So then next thing I know, I'm to his inside. So I just went for it and took it. I guess in that situation, I should have came up the track sooner off the corner. So I could have got a little bit more side draft on him, and then maybe could have got him back to the line. But I mean, overall, like I said, learned a lot in the race.
Yeah.
Tried a couple things. That was really the purpose of this race, really, just try a couple things and see what worked, what didn't work, and learned quite a bit. So I think that's some stuff that we could take back, use for next week with everybody on team name, and see if we can control the race next week.
So, Pedro, did you know what happened behind you? The change, I guess, from the norm is you had nobody behind you to even help you from the back. It was just a 2-car drag race off of turn 4. Were you aware what happened back there?
Not really. Other than the guys in the team chat saying that everybody's wrecking. So I figured that there wasn't going to be a lot of help. So it was just between me and Josh. But yeah, I didn't really know what was going on other than what the teammates were yelling when everything happened, when the chaos ensued. So I went back and watched it though. It was pretty nuts.
Yeah, it's been noticeable watching you from last season that your racecraft has improved considerably. Do you feel like you're a good threat for the championship this year? This is certainly a good way to serve notice to these guys that you're here for the season.
I think so, and I think part of it has just been racing more and more with these guys. It's a lot of good guys though. They're pretty much like everybody on the team name. Like we all have fun racing with each other, but we're all really competitive and we're all really good, and any one of us could win any given week. So I think that helps us, at least be in the championship conversation. And then there's other guys too within the league that are always consistent, always running up front. So yes, I think that what I've done in the past year, I think helps, gives us a little bit of something to talk about going into the championship this year, coming back to Cup again. But there's a lot of people that are really good, so really just be patient, just be consistent, try to get a couple wins, whatnot, and just be ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, last thing to talk about. Noticed your paint scheme for this year. Nice job and getting your sponsor a podium finish out of the gate. I'm sure Mr. Campbell is smiling.
Yeah, no, I appreciate Glenn Campbell and Trans Service for jumping on board. It was really cool of him to, just had casual conversation. I brought up, hey, I was looking for a sponsor, and he was one of the first ones to come to me. So glad to represent him and his company and sponsor. And been racing with Glenn for a long, long time. I mean, he knew me from my Wii days and back in NASCAR racing 2003. So
Yeah.
glad that we still have a good friendship, and that he's willing to sponsor me for this series.
Well, nice work tonight. Anybody want to give a shout out before you head off and go talk with your teammate?
Yeah, no, again, thanks to Trans Service for jumping on board for this season. Looking forward to a great season. NC 811, call before you dig. Appreciate them for sponsoring the series. Actually Monday and the Sunday Xfinity series. So appreciate them taking more of a role in the league. So that's really cool. Appreciate you guys putting on the broadcast, Captain Esports, all the admins, SIM500. Appreciate what they do. And then, yeah, everybody at Team Name. We have a lot of fun doing this, and appreciate them and all the good times.
Yeah, glad to have you back for the 2023 season. We really enjoy watching you. We're looking forward to a good run for you. We'll turn it over to Chris. He's caught up with our third place finisher, David Comstock.
Yeah, David Comstock obviously joining us in the Monster Energy number 13 car. Obviously, David, I don't know. I find this to be interesting with some of the comments I'm hearing, and I want to know if you kind of feel the same way as these others are feeling. A lot of experimenting sound like going on tonight, and a lot of just interesting things in this car. Did you sense the same kind of thing going on, or were we just watching something weird?
Yeah, I was experiencing just like what Josh was saying earlier, that the car moves around a bunch. It just seems to, I don't know if it's net code or a combination with just the way the air plays off the car that this aero package has, where you get moved around a lot, especially when somebody gets to your right rear. It wants to just kind of draw your car up the track if you're not ready for it, and it kind of draws them up into them. So that's where you got a lot of guys that, run into each other, door each other down the straightaways or in the corners, and they make moves to the right rear of somebody. And plus these runs that we get are pretty massive. So it's tough to push somebody, get some squirrely. So it leaves a lot of hesitation to push. So that's where a lot of that lifting comes from. And then you get a huge accordion effect. And you've seen a bunch of wrecks where people are just running over each other because we're lifting up front. And then it's even worse when you get 5, 10, 20 rows back. So it's just a combination of just multiple things that we have going on in the service right now.
So what are some things that, I know you probably don't want to share a lot of secrets or whatever, but there's some interesting things that you learned out there on the track that you think can help you and even make the racing better than what we would expect, I guess, because obviously if this was unexpected and all experiments, then we know in our heads what to expect. Are we going to see even better than expected next week?
I'd hope so. I hope we see better than expected. I mean, we had enough of a trial and error tonight with seeing everything going on. So hopefully guys are, a bit more heads up on things and giving each other a little bit more of a break and not just shoving people in a pack into the car in front of them and just, modulating that throttle a bit, using the brakes some a little bit. You don't need to be exactly wide open, even though, yes, we are at a super speedway and that's typically the case. But the way that this pack is and the runs you generate, you have to do a lot of modulating on the throttle, a lot of give and take. Otherwise, hope your wreck avoidance is really good, like mine was tonight.
Yeah, you did your thing tonight, man. Congratulations, and I guess the shout outs before we let you go.
Yeah, appreciate you guys for broadcasting for us through the season. Thanks to NC811.org for sponsoring our series and SIM500 through the leagues. And the SIM500 League and staff and the admins for putting on our series 7 nights a week. Got racing going on every single night. So anybody out there that wants to join in on the fun, hop over to sim500.com and sign up. Thanks to everybody at Team Name, all my teammates. Big shout out to Beasley, who Parker left out. So, but everybody else, all my teammates. Congrats to Josh on the win. Hopefully we're able to do really well next week, and we can be back here talking to you guys. And thanks to Moss Energy.
He's a promo man. He's pretty good at this. Great job there, Dave.
Thanks. Have a good night,
buddy. You too. David Comstock finishing in the third position here as we let him go down to his Team Name channel. And so the unexpected word I got out of those interviews, experiment.
Yeah.
That caught me off guard.
The thing that I take away is they learned, right? We talked about the notebook. I think the most stoic and, how do you say it? The processing going on with Pedro and what he was doing. He was experimenting. He wants to win next week. You can hear it in his voice.
Well, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. So next Monday, we're on the air at 8:15. We'll do a little pre-race show. And again, Daniel Falkingham, driver of the Joe Gibbs Racing esports team, who actually will be in action tomorrow night from Daytona with the Coca-Cola iRacing series. He'll be on with us next week. We'll talk with him and have some fun in the booth and hopefully put on a great show here in the 6th running of the Daytona 500-kilometer race here for SIM500. Reminder, Sunday, we're actually at Auto Club Speedway, let me make sure I got that right. Sunday night in the Grand National Series. Yeah, I believe we're at Auto Club for that race. So come and join us for that. Now I'm double checking myself. I know Friday night for the All-American ARCA Series, we're at as my output device is kind of going wonkers on my screen over here. So anyways, we do have a race Sunday night. Make sure you come and join us. Somebody has an alarm going off. That might be what you're hearing on I don't know what's going on, but my output device says it's not working and it's going like repeatedly on my screen. It's kind of weird. But anyways, so my screen's going out of control all of a sudden. So we're just going to get out of here and take off. But Sunday night, we're in action here for the Grand National Series from SIM500. This has just been a weird night period. So let's just get out of here. Kevin, appreciate, man, you joining me and looking forward to this season. And we'll see you again next Monday night, buddy.
All right, man.
All right. Remember, this isn't just a game. We think it's iRacing. I mean, wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't. But no, seriousness. It isn't just a game. It's iRacing. See ya.
Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless, a sea of the aimless. I don't wanna be one of the nameless. I'ma wake up with the mindset that one day I'm gonna make it. And I don't think I'll be fine if I don't break my limitations. Don't try to stop me, I exist to write my own story. I'll make a decision if I want some peace or if I want the glory, yeah. Don't want a life that is complacent or possibly boring, I just want a life that is worth every day exploring,
My whole life I just wanted someone who would notice me. My whole life I just wanted to be somebody to be. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be